Hello and welcome to HQ, where the lessons last a few minutes, but the learning lasts a lifetime. To continue our mystery series, today we're going to look at one of the all-time greats, the story of Atlantis. This story of Atlantis is first brought to us by Plato in his works Critias and Timaeus. And these works focus on a war between ancient Athens and a superpower of its time, Atlantis. It's important to note at this point that ancient Athens is not a real place, at least in Plato's work it isn't. It's more of a fictitious place because it comes from Plato's other work, The Republic. And it's kind of Plato's dream come true when it comes to what a city-state should look like. But anyways, back to the story. So Athens beats Atlantis, testament to Plato's belief that ancient Athens is the best place to be and is favored by the gods. Atlantis, on the other hand, falls out of favor with the gods, and then continues falling right into the sea. The Atlantis myth continues well after Plato and his death, with writers such as Francis Bacon and Thomas More focusing on the utopian side of things in Atlantis, while other authors focused on how amazingly advanced it was, and how it apparently was beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the modern Straits of Gibraltar, so it was somewhere in the Atlantic, or even the Americas. But in one shape or another, it's been passed on to today. That's the basic gist I'm trying to get here. And so the question we need to ask ourselves about when it comes to Atlantis is whether this is fake and a myth, or whether it's real and certifiable. And the answer we find when we look at it is it's pretty much fiction. Although people like to point out things like the Bimini Road as an example of Atlantis actually existing, there's never been any real concrete proof that Atlantis, as a society that destroyed itself and fell into the sea, like Plato wrote about, ever really existed. And while Atlantis may never have really existed, that's not to say that Plato didn't take, creative liberties with things that happened in his own world or he knew about. Real events inspired the story behind Atlantis. Although no one knows for sure where Atlantis was supposed to have been, since Plato says it's beyond the Pillars of Hercules, but the Pillars of Hercules are the Straits of Gibraltar, so that leaves 2/3 of the world? There are some theories though, and I'll give you the best one. And this is the best one for two reasons. Firstly, its location. And secondly, its destruction. The place that I think was the inspiration for Plato and his Atlantis was the island of Santorini in the Mediterranean. Also known as Thera, Santorini is an island in the Greek archipelago and has a modern population of around 15,000 people. In ancient history though, the island was much more sparsely populated by a group known as the Minoans. Now, the Minoans were a very advanced civilization centered in Crete in this place called Knossos. The civilization flourished about 4,000 years ago. That's even 1,600 years before Plato was born. And when I say advanced, I mean really advanced, especially for that era in the world. The Minoans had multi-storied palaces, beautiful frescoes, sewers, hot and cold water, and an organizational system and series of government that could really only be rivaled by the Chinese and the Egyptians at this point in time. So the Minoans are flourishing in Santorini and on Crete until around 1500 BCE, so 3,500 years ago. And then catastrophe hits. The same catastrophe that destroyed Atlantis. Around 3,500 years ago, a volcanic eruption, one of the largest volcanic eruptions in world history, nearly destroyed the entire island of Santorini. This eruption was incredibly destructive. While we don't know the actual tonnage of volume produced by it, we do know it was basically 4 times bigger than Krakatoa. And Krakatoa was enormous! This eruption put 200 feet of pumice stones and ash on top of the Minoan settlement in Santorini. That's roughly 3 times more than what fell at Pompeii. This is an incredible amount of stuff that comes down on the island, inundating it and basically destroying everything that lives there. Aside from inundating it and destroying everything that lives there, it also basically blew apart the island. And if you look at pictures of Santorini today, which, here's one, you'll see that it's kind of like a cauldron. Yeah, that whole middle part where the water was, that was once land. It blew that big of a crater into it. And with this explosion came earthquakes and came one big killer thing. A tidal wave. And this tidal wave was headed right towards Minoan Crete. As ashfall could have killed the eastern half of Crete all by itself, the entire situation is made much, much, much worse by this tidal wave that's barreling right towards the coastal settlements of Minoan Crete. It obliterates them, swamping them, destroying everything there, killing thousands of people. And while this didn't completely wipe the Minoans out of Crete, it severely hampered their civilization, and you can kind of see could be an example for Plato to draw on 1600 years later. And while this didn't completely wipe out the Minoans of Crete, it did wipe out the Minoans of Santorini, blowing apart the island, sinking part of it, and laying 200 feet of ash over the whole thing. And this destruction of Minoan Santorini is then reflected by Plato nearly 1,000 years later in his works that label Santorini as Atlantis. So it's simply this: Atlantis is a story, but a story that draws on at least some parallels of truth. Anyways, this is HQ signing off for now. I'll see you next time. If you liked this video, go ahead and leave a like. It helps me know what you guys like, and so I can make better videos next time. And if you really enjoyed it, why not subscribe to the channel so you can get updates. Anyways, I'll see you later.